Hi, welcome to the channel. My name is Sam, and today I thought we would talk about somebody who I felt is not talked about as much in the comic community. I'm not entirely sure if that's because, um, he's a children's illustrator. Not too sure what the case is there. But in my opinion, I think he's extremely influential and maybe just gets overlooked because he gets introduced to a lot of people at a very early age. So later influences, your Kirby's, Stan Lee's, so on and so forth, people, start to look at them more. But the guy that we're talking about today, Dr. Seuss, illustrator, since the late 30s, going into the 40s, gone into the army, to be an illustrator there. This is what really brings me to this point here is that imagine a world to where maybe, Dr. Seuss, instead of going more into the children's realm, had gone into comics proper, to see what kind of where that was. I'm sure that Dr. Seuss probably had the last laugh in the long run because I'm sure that all of the money is probably in kids' books, and I'm sure that this dude has probably sold stupid amounts of books across all of his titles. So he got the last laugh, I'm sure. But with that being said, just because I don't feel like he gets talked about as much in the comics realm doesn't really necessarily mean that he's not represented at all. So this is Ice Cream Man number 20, as you can see. So again, my name is Sam. So as you can imagine, growing up, this thing was read to me 1.5 million times. So it's something that's, burned into my brain. And it's good to see that, there's great comics out there, especially horror comics. If you're not familiar with Ice Cream Man, they're basically little anthologies, little short, horror stories. Great. In terms of modern day horror comics, in my opinion, this is the number one thing that's out right now. It's absolutely killer. Just the variety that you see, the storytelling, the artwork, everything like that. It's good stuff. So highly recommend Ice Cream Man if you haven't seen it. You can pick up Ice Cream Man in single issues. It really doesn't matter what you grab because again it's an anthology, so just pick up whatever. It really doesn't make a difference there. Thing that I do recommend doing with Ice Cream Man, because these can get a little pricey in terms of the single issues in some cases, not super expensive, but there is the Sunday editions for these, and they're just collected versions in hardcovers, and they're really great packaging. Like the covers and whatnot are this weird bubble style. It's hard to describe, but it has a really cool texture to it. So highly recommend. All right, so let's go ahead and crack this book open. So as we were talking about, he's been around for a while, this guy. So when you look at the original copyright date here, we're looking at 1960. So this is an older book, of course. And one of the things that I love about his art is the minimalist aspect of it. And, there's not a lot going on. There's always a lot of negative space, and it really draws attention to, the characters. Didn't do anything too crazy in terms of, using tools or anything like that. Straight up pencil, watercolor, colored pencil. I'm assuming, just whatever, Winsor & Newton, Hunt 102, whatever it might be that he was using at the time for pens. Hard to say. All the research that I had done, even the guy's own, museum, really didn't go into detail. It just says like India ink, watercolor, so on and so forth. Really doesn't get into the nitty gritty of. All right, so this page here always caught my eye, and when I was talking about influences on comics, Dr. Seuss obviously had a massive influence on visual media in terms of film. So obviously we got like the Grinch movie, cartoon, live action, Cat in the Hat. so on and so forth. But one of the people that I wanted to talk about, but I draw direct comparisons to in terms of a visual style, and especially around, the machinery and stuff that we see here, it's Tim Burton. So take a look at Tim Burton, and especially some of the contraptions, the Rube Goldberg sort of things that are in Pee-wee's Big Adventure, that might be in Edward Scissorhands even. A lot of machinery and contraptions that look like this, and I would judge to say that Dr. Seuss was a big influence on Tim Burton. One of the things that I love about Dr. Seuss's illustration is the expression that he gets with his cartooning and his eyes especially. The person that I would draw direct comparison to with these eyes and how hard it is to make eyes very expressive and make them look right is Will Eisner. In my opinion, Will Eisner is the master in drawing expressive eyes, and Dr. Seuss is no exception to that. Again, when we're looking at the minimalist backgrounds and everything like that, it's just drawing your eye directly to the characters themselves and what's going on in the story, because that's what's important. I wanted to stop here and speak about this page specifically and weight distribution with this box. So when we're looking at this box here, obviously it's going to have some weight to it. In reality, even though we're talking about cartoon characters and whatnot, it's still going to be gravity. There's still weight to things. This dude isn't made of cotton. He's made of flesh, bones, fur, so on and so forth. So are these characters. This is wood. Got some metal here. So this is a heavy object. We look at this tree. It is cartoony in nature, but really giving it this bend right here really illustrates the weight of the box itself, and including this bend and this eyelet anchor here really illustrates the amount of weight that's really in stress that's being put on to this rope here. And that's something that doesn't get looked at or doesn't get talked about a lot by a lot of people, is how weight and gravity is drawn in in the space. Master in drawing motion. Hey, you want to show motion? Get your freaking vehicle off the ground, right? Give it some oval wheels as opposed to round wheels. It's really going to illustrate, that the thing is actually moving along with these action lines that you see here. It's really good stuff. And once we get to a little further into the book, I'll show some examples of influences, again, that I think that is there, but I'm not 100% sure on when it comes to cartooning with Dr. Seuss. Again, with the weight, even though it's not touching, it's given that illusion that this is being bent over by the vehicle. Again, beautiful stuff. Okay. Talking about motion again. Really great action lines there behind your the train car. Alright, so here they're about to go into a tunnel. And one of the things that I think is overlooked, especially in Dr. Seuss in general, is his color treatments. So if you've noticed, we've been outside this entire story. None of it has been taking place inside. We're about to go into a tunnel. What would you think that would look like? Boom. Cool blues really drives home that, hey, we're in a cold, dark tunnel, but it's still an inviting color to a kid. You got to remember that if you were to take this image and say you invert the colors, maybe changes blue to a dark purple, almost black, and just leave like the like some Steve Ditko eyes and mouth action just showing. This could be a scary image to a kid. Um, Definitely could belong in a horror comic of the 70s, especially like back here. To me, this really looks like something out of I don't know, like Swamp Thing or something. It's hard to describe, but that's what I see. It's always cracked me up when I've looked at this. So one of my favorite things about artists and comics in general is how do people draw rain? So as we can see here, we got some rain coming down, and they look like porcupine needles more than anything else. Uh, it's strange. I'm not entirely sure what's going on here. This is, I think, one of the weirdest uh, styles of rain I've seen people draw. It is what it is, but yeah, it's a little off. I'm not entirely sure. It, he's kayfabing some rain here, basically. Again, with all the cool tracks and machinery and things, looks like something that would be straight out of like a Tim Burton movie. Kind of talk about his water a little bit here in a second. Kind of looks a little weird again. It works on these pages, I think, for with the way that the water looks. But again, the way that rain had looked on that past page, it's questionable at best. So here we're gonna go and talk about his color here. So they're not entirely deep in this water, right? They're kind of shallow. So it's not a super dark, deep blue. There is an issue of concrete. The number escapes me. I believe that I have the, a snippet of it in like a Dark Horse Presents. Again, that number escapes me right now, but I definitely have it over in a box over there. But there is an issue or a story of concrete where he has to go on like a long dive basically and stay underwater. Can't really remember the details there. Something he had to do to like stay alive or something like that. I really can't remember. But the color treatment when he went underwater, it was like, oh, he's underwater. Like you can definitely tell. It gives that illusion, and this here is how you can illustrate that and just make everything one color, and it makes it look like it's underwater. And if you want to look at that concrete story I was talking about, that's another way that you can show that things are drawn underwater, and I would prefer to do it that way because I think it's more artistic. But this works for the story. I think it's really cool. One of the things I wanted to talk about with his color treatment as well is this entire story. Our main character, he's more or less in a bright primary color. Everyone around him, has been a pastel. That's something that I haven't picked up on, and in like the 6 or 7 times I've tried to shoot this video, I've come to notice that. Awesome. Love the drawings here. It's good stuff. All right. So the moral of the story of good old Green Eggs and Ham, I think is, try things that you might not be, might be objective to or something like that. Be open to trying new things. Get out there, see what you might catch your eye. So earlier I was saying, hey, I'm going to show somebody else that might have some influence from good old Seuss here. So this was something I had picked up recently at the old local comic book shop. And Tom Scioli, Pennsylvania cat, he's got an interesting style. So when I look at the way that he draws vehicles, it looks like a Dr. Seuss vehicle to me. Very round, cartoony. That's what I see. And then as well with some of his color treatments, it looks very Seussian. Uh, if that's even a term, I don't know. I just coined it, so you're welcome. But this is honestly a really cool comic. I'm not usually into Tom's artwork. He's done Stanley the Kirby book and whatnot. This is the first thing of his that I picked up. I saw that there was a Jim Rugg, Jim Mafood variant cover and whatnot for this guy. Definitely probably look at tracking those down at some point. But after I had opened this up, there's definitely a lot of drawings. It is panels in here that caught my eye. And again, just kind of going back on the theme of green eggs and ham. This isn't something that I would typically pick up. I love the old 70s Godzillas. I do collect those. But this guy here, there's cool panels in there, especially when you use it as atomic breath and stuff, the way that the color treatment works. You can pick up things from. And just because you might not like the artwork all the time, there might be things that you could pick up from and, enjoy and kind of increase your horizons a little bit. All right, well, thank you for joining me here talking about good old Susie, and I hope you all have a good day. Thank you.